Since 1975, the US government has transported nuclear weapons across 140 million miles of American highway. That's enough to circle the Earth more than 5,600 times. In that entire time, across every snowstorm, every construction bottleneck, every stretch of rural interstate, there have been 0 fatalities and 0 radioactive releases. Most people ask how they've managed to be that safe. That's the surface question. The deeper one is this: why are they driving nuclear weapons on public highways at all?
The US military has the world's most capable air transport fleet. C-17 Globemasters, C-5 Galaxies, aircraft that can move tanks and helicopters to anywhere on Earth within hours. So when it comes to the most dangerous cargo imaginable, why does the preferred method involve an 18-wheeler, a public freeway, and a driver doing 65 past a Love's travel stop? The answer doesn't start with policy. It doesn't start with budget. It starts with a physics problem that no government agency has any power to solve.
Tritium is a radioactive isotope of hydrogen. In a thermonuclear weapon, it serves as a booster. It supercharges the primary fission reaction and multiplies the explosive yield by orders of magnitude. Without it, the weapon delivers a fraction of its designed output. The problem is that tritium has a half-life of 12.33 years. Every single year, 5.5% of it decays. It transforms irreversibly into helium. Helium does nothing for a nuclear weapon. This means every warhead in the US stockpile is continuously losing functionality, not catastrophically, not all at once, but at 5.5% per year. By the 5-year mark, roughly a quarter of a weapon's tritium has become inert gas. The Department of Energy sets an exchange threshold at approximately 5 years. After that, the tritium reservoir inside the warhead has to be physically removed, shipped to a replenishment facility, and replaced. The US maintains somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 active warheads. Each one on a 5-year cycle means that every year the government has to physically service a significant portion of the entire stockpile. The operation generates somewhere between 100 and 200 highway convoys annually just to keep the weapons functional. Tritium doesn't care about policy preferences. The decay happens regardless of geopolitical conditions, budget cycles, or who is president. The transport schedule is, at its core, a maintenance requirement dictated by atomic physics. And once you understand that, the entire system snaps into focus. There is a second decay problem running in parallel. The core of a nuclear weapon is called the pit. It's a hollow sphere of plutonium-239, machined with extraordinary precision, designed to compress inward symmetrically when the weapon detonates. That implosion symmetry is what makes the weapon function. Even slight deformation causes the weapon to fizzle rather than detonate. Plutonium-239 has a half-life of 24,400 years, so the pit itself isn't going anywhere fast, but the decay process deposits helium atoms inside the plutonium lattice at a rate of roughly 2.3 trillion disintegrations per second per gram. Over decades, those atoms accumulate as microscopic bubbles inside the metal. The bubbles alter the density, the structural properties, the dimensional characteristics of the pit. Subtle changes, but in a device where the margin of error for implosion symmetry is measured in fractions of a millimeter, subtle changes matter. Los Alamos National Laboratory has been candid about the uncertainty here. In their own assessment, there is no predictive ability to say with certainty when a 40-year-old pit will become unreliable. They cannot prove failure. They also cannot prove reliability. The only way to know whether a weapon would actually work is to test it. The United States has not conducted a nuclear test since 1992. This creates a second mandatory transport loop. Aging pits are removed from weapons, driven to Los Alamos for physical inspection and refurbishment, and then returned. New pits get cast. Old plutonium gets recycled. The refurbished weapon ships back.
The hub for all of this is the Pantex plant in Amarillo, Texas. It is the only facility in the U.S. that assembles and disassembles nuclear weapons. Los Alamos, 380 miles southwest in New Mexico, handles pit surveillance and production. Savannah River in South Carolina handles tritium. The weapons and their components travel between these points on a continuous rolling schedule without pause. The organization responsible for all of it is the Office of Secure Transportation. It operates under the Department of Energy, which owns nuclear materials while they're not deployed.
Once a weapon is in operational position under military control, it belongs to the Department of Defense. But during transport and maintenance, it's DOE's. This split in custody architecture is part of why the logistics chain is as extensive as it is. OST runs approximately 300 federal agents. Its annual operating budget is roughly $371 million. Every convoy involves a minimum of 7 armed vehicles. 2 remote agents are positioned miles ahead of the trailer at all times, scanning for threats, reporting back on a 30-minute interval. The entire operation is monitored continuously from the Transportation Emergency Control Center in Albuquerque, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Real-time location, real-time video. Someone is watching every second of every convoy. The trailers themselves are built to a specification that sounds like fiction written by a defense contractor. The rear doors are over 12 inches thick. The exterior is designed to be indistinguishable from a civilian tractor trailer. No Department of Transportation identification numbers, no government markings, no distinctive livery. When you pass one of these on I-40, there is no visual indication of what it's carrying. Inside, the cargo is protected by a set of active countermeasure systems. When an inclinometer detects the trailer tilting beyond a certain angle, a fast-hardening, expanding foam fills the entire interior, immobilizing the cargo. The floor of the trailer can be electrified. Chemical nozzles in the ceiling can disperse a disabling agent. The axle system can be mechanically destroyed from within, rendering the trailer impossible to tow. A third-generation system, the Mobile Guardian Transporter, crash-tested by Sandia National Laboratories in October 2020, is designed to withstand a 60-minute fire at 1,850 degrees Fahrenheit without cargo damage. Sandia called it the largest crash test they'd conducted in 2 decades. The agents on these convoys carry deadly force authority under Section 161K of the Atomic Energy Act. They are authorized to shoot to kill to prevent theft, sabotage, or unauthorized seizure of nuclear material. On public roads, in traffic. This authority is codified at 10 CFR 1047.7 in the Code of Federal Regulations. If local law enforcement tries to intervene, they have to supply the correct coded countersign to OST agents before approaching the convoy. If they give the wrong countersign, the protocol advises them to take cover. This is where the system reveals its real weakness. The engineering on these trucks is extraordinary. In 140 million miles of operation, the hardware has never caused a fatality. It has never released radioactive material. Technically, the security works. But from 2007 to 2009, a window of just 3 years, 597 OST personnel generated 16 alcohol-related incidents. 2 of those incidents happened during active missions. In one, an agent was arrested for public intoxication at a hotel, while nuclear cargo sat in a secured staging area nearby. In another, 2 agents were handcuffed by local police at a bar. Both were removed from operational status. The Department of Energy Inspector General called these incidents a potential vulnerability in a critical national security mission. To understand why this happens, you have to look at what the job demands of the people doing it. Every convoy operates under what functions as a total anonymity doctrine. The trailers look civilian, the agents dress civilian. They stay at local hotels during rest overnights, checking in without identification that connects them to any government function. They cannot tell their families where they are or what they're transporting. They work a 32-hour continuous travel cycle, followed by 8 hours of mandatory stationary rest.
They go through polygraph testing, random drug screenings, and ongoing psychological evaluations as part of the Human Reliability Program. The entire professional identity of an OST agent is structured around not existing.
Take someone with that professional profile. Put them in a hotel in Gallup, New Mexico. On the third day of a mission they cannot describe to anyone, running on broken sleep, knowing that 300 meters away, in a parking lot, sits a trailer containing something that could level a mid-sized city. Then give them access to a hotel bar. The 2010 Inspector General report noted that despite implementing a comprehensive alcohol control program, management remained concerned. That language matters. The countermeasures addressed the behavior. They did not address the conditions producing it. The psychological cost of the Anonymity Doctrine exceeds what administrative rules can fully absorb. The engineering bottleneck on this system is not the foam. It's not the electrified floors. It's the human being at the end of a 30-hour shift who knows something that nobody else in the world is allowed to know. Pull back to the full picture, and here is what the system amounts to. The United States maintains nuclear deterrence through the permanent, continuous movement of weapons components across public roads. This movement isn't a choice in any meaningful sense. Tritium's 5.5% annual decay creates a maintenance schedule that cannot be suspended. Plutonium aging generates uncertainty that cannot be resolved without physical inspection. The geographic distance between Pantex, Los Alamos, and Savannah River forces a logistics chain that runs perpetually, regardless of everything else. Air transport was evaluated and rejected. The cost estimate for a nuclear-certified air fleet runs between $1 and $2 billion annually, compared to OST's $371 million. Air transport is also more visible, more identifiable, and offers no equivalent to the legal authorities OST agents carry on the ground. Under the Atomic Energy Act, DOE can declare a national security area on non-federal land during an emergency, temporarily placing that land under federal control. There is no airborne equivalent. There is no airborne equivalent to the Deadly Force Authority in 10 CFR 1047.7. In the air, a nuclear cargo aircraft is a military silhouette that announces itself to anyone with eyes. On the highway, the weapon disappears into the ordinary flow of commerce. So the answer is the highway. Cheaper, legally controllable, invisible, and over 50 years of operational data, the demonstrably safer option. The security is achieved not by announcing the presence of something extraordinary, but by removing every signal that would allow anyone to identify it. The US has determined that the safest place to hide an object of catastrophic destructive potential is in plain sight, surrounded by the trucks carrying refrigerators and construction materials and retail freight, past the same gas stations and way stations and rest areas you've stopped at. The weapons keep moving. They have to. The atoms inside them generate a maintenance schedule that no policy decision can override. And somewhere on the American interstate system, probably right now, there is a truck doing 65 miles per hour. It looks completely ordinary. There is nothing about it that would cause you to slow down or look twice. That is not an accident. That is the entire point.